The great hall of the Galactic Council was filled with voices, glowing lights, and the sound of laughter that carried across the chamber like thunder. Aliens of every kind sat in their high seats, their eyes fixed on the humans who stood at the center stage. The moment the human delegation placed their trays of food on the long silver table, the laughter began louder than ever. "Is this what you call food?" one alien sneered. His skin was covered in golden scales that shimmered under the lights. He pointed a claw at the roasted meat and bread the humans had brought. "This looks like something scavengers would dig from the dirt," another alien, tall and thin with glassy eyes, leaned back in his chair and let out a laugh that echoed. "Primitive slop," he said. "You humans eat like cave animals. It is no wonder you are weak." More laughter rolled across the chamber. Sharp and cruel, dozens of alien leaders joined in, whispering jokes to one another. Their voices overlapped like waves. Some even mimicked the act of tearing bread with their teeth, mocking the humans openly, but the humans did not flinch. The leader of the human delegation, a man in a plain black uniform, stood with calm eyes. His face betrayed nothing. No anger, no shame. He simply watched them waiting. "Are you not embarrassed?" A council member shouted, his tentacles curled in amusement. "You bring this peasant's meal before the highest rulers of the galaxy." Still, the human leader gave no reply. He let the room grow louder, the laughter rise, the insults pile up. Then slowly he leaned forward and spoke. His voice was quiet but carried like a blade through the noise. "Do you wish to taste something special?" The chamber fell silent at once. The laughter cut short, replaced by puzzled looks. The alien rulers glanced at one another, unsure if they had heard correctly. "What do you mean?" asked the scaled alien, his grin fading. The human leader raised his hand at his signal. Two soldiers wheeled out a covered tray. The wheels squeaked against the marble floor. The air seemed heavier. Every eye followed the movement. "This," the leader said, resting his hand on the lid, "is not bread, not stew, not what you mocked. This is a dish from Earth. When we share only with those who believe we are weak." Gasps rippled through the crowd. For the first time, the humans smiled, not wide, not mocking, but the kind of smile that carried a secret. The leader pulled back the lid. A strange smell filled the hall, rich, smoky, and sharp like fire. On the tray lay thick pieces of meat, roasted to a dark shine. The sight of it made one alien choke on his breath. Another stood up so fast his chair crashed behind him. That cannot be," one alien whispered. His voice trembled, whispers spread quickly, words bouncing from seat to seat. "It is impossible. No species could. Not even warriors dared." The human leader's calm eyes moved across the room. "You recognize it," he said. Not as a question, but as a fact. Every alien did. The meat belonged to a creature whispered about in fear, a predator known across the galaxy, a beast so deadly it had wiped out colonies. Its very presence enough to cause armies to retreat. It was said to be untouchable, unkillable, unbreakable, yet here it lay, roasted and seasoned, served on a tray like dinner. "You cannot be serious," the thin alien stammered. "This monster is banned from all star systems. Its claws tear through steel, its poison kills on contact. How could we kill it?" The human interrupted, his voice calm. "How could we eat it?" He picked up a knife, cut a slice of the dark meat, and placed it on his tongue. He chewed slowly, swallowed, and then looked at the council. "On Earth, we do not fear monsters. We eat them." The room erupted. Some aliens shouted in disbelief. Others fell into stunned silence. A few looked pale, as if the ground beneath them had shifted. The scaled alien shook his head, his golden skin dimming. "You expect us to believe this? That you hunt these nightmares?" The human did not answer with words. Instead, his soldiers stepped forward. Each carried small jars filled with preserved fangs. Claws and hides from the same creature, they set them on the council table, the items rattling as they touched the metal surface. The proof was undeniable. "You call our food primitive," the human said, his voice stronger now. "But what you laugh at feeds our strength. You mock bread, yet it gives us endurance. You mock meat. yet it comes from creatures you cannot even face. You laugh at survival, but survival is what shaped us. The aliens who had laughed earlier now stared in silence. The thin one with glassy eyes lowered his gaze, his mouth dry. The tentacled alien who once shouted now kept his limbs curled tight against himself. One young alien broke the silence. His voice was barely a whisper. "If you eat what we fear most." "What else do you eat?" The human leader turned his head. His smile was faint, his eyes cold. "Whatever we must," a chill swept through the chamber. No one laughed now. The mocking had turned to silence. The silence turned to unease, and unease into fear. The humans stood straight, calm as ever. They did not raise their voices. They did not need to. Their message was already clear. The galaxy had laughed at their food. But now the galaxy understood humans were not weak, not primitive, not to be mocked. They were survivors of a world filled with monsters. And in that survival lay something more dangerous than any fleet. They were a species that did not run from predators. They hunted them, they killed them, they roasted them, and then they ate them. The chamber of the Galactic Council was still heavy with silence. The roasted flesh of the forbidden beast lay on the silver tray, the smell curling into the air like smoke after a storm. Aliens who had once laughed now leaned back in fear. Their eyes wide, their hands trembling, none dared speak. It was the human leader who finally broke the silence. "You mock what we eat," he said, his voice steady. "But you do not understand why we eat it," a scaled alien hissed, his golden skin now pale. "No one hunts that monster. Its claws tear ships apart. Its poison burns through bone. Whole fleets retreat when it appears. How could you humans face it?" The human leader looked at him with calm eyes. "Because on Earth, we face worse every day." The words echoed like a blow. Whispers broke out across the chamber. Some aliens shook their heads in disbelief, but others stared at the humans with new fear. A young alien with pale feathers leaned forward, his voice shaking. "You mean to say there are more like this on your world?" One of the human soldiers answered before the leader could speak. His voice was quiet but sharp. "On Earth, every forest hides fangs, every sea hides jaws, every sky hides talons. You call this monster a nightmare. We call it dinner." Gasps spread again. The aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. A council member slammed his hand on the table, his tentacles quivering. "Enough! This is a trick, a show to frighten us. You humans staged this. You cannot expect us to believe you eat what has ended civilizations." The human leader raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Two more soldiers entered the chamber, carrying sealed cases made of reinforced glass. They placed them on the council table with heavy thuds. Inside were bones, skulls, and hide samples, each marked with alien symbols that identified the creature. They were trophies of the hunt. "Do you think these are tricks too?" the human asked. His voice had no need to rise. The evidence spoke louder than shouts ever could. The tentacled alien stared at the bones, his eyes wide with disbelief. He sank back into his chair and whispered, "Impossible." But the silence that followed was not filled with denial. It was filled with fear. Then came an unexpected sound, a laugh. Not from the humans, but from a different corner of the chamber. It was low, mocking, and cold. An alien in dark armor, a general of one of the larger empires, leaned forward with a cruel grin. "So this is your secret," he said. His voice echoed across the hall. "You eat monsters. You turn death into food. Impressive, yes, but what does it prove? You may eat like predators, but you are still small, still fragile, still outnumbered." He slammed his fist on the table. "Do you think we will fear you for eating what we could not kill?" The human leader turned to him slowly. His expression remained calm. "Fear was never the point." The general frowned, his grin faltering. "Then what is the point?" The human leaned closer, his eyes sharp as steel. "The point is survival. You see monsters as the end of your story. We see them as the beginning of ours. You see danger. We see a challenge. What breaks you only feeds us." The words cut through the chamber. The general's smirk faded completely. Around him, other alien leaders shifted uneasily. For the first time, they began to understand that humans did not measure strength the same way they did. One elder alien with silver skin raised his voice. "You mean, even if we send beasts at you, even if we unleash horrors upon your worlds, you will only grow stronger?" The human leader gave a faint smile. "Send what you like, we will hunt it, we will kill it. And when the fire dies, we will feast." The hall shook with murmurs. Some aliens looked terrified, others angry, but none laughed. The sound of mockery that had filled the chamber earlier was gone, replaced by the heavy beat of fear. The thin alien with glassy eyes spoke again, his voice trembling. "If you can eat these monsters, what else will you do?" The human's smile vanished, his voice turned colder. "Whatever is needed." The words hung in the air like a sentence. For a long moment no one moved. Then the human leader cut another piece of the dark meat and ate it calmly. The crunch of the bite echoed louder than the voices of the entire council. The general in dark armor finally spoke again, but his tone was no longer mocking. It was low and careful. "If what you say is true, then humanity is not to be mocked." The human leader wiped his mouth with a cloth. His eyes moved across the council one last time. "You should never have laughed," he said, "because laughter fades. But the truth remains." He stood straight, the soldiers behind him like shadows. The tray of roasted flesh still smoked in the air, a reminder of what humans had done and what they could do again. The aliens who once mocked now sat in silence. Each of them carried the same thought in their minds, a thought they dared not speak aloud. If humans could eat what others feared most, then what else could they survive? What else could they endure? And in that silence, the galaxy's laughter died forever. The chamber lights dimmed as the echoes of the humans' last words still clung to the walls. The alien councillors sat frozen, some gripping their chairs, others whispering in low tones that carried fear more than reason. The roasted beast on the silver tray sent waves of smoky scent through the air, mocking every alien nose with proof of the impossible. The scaled alien finally spoke again, his voice weak where once it had been proud. "You say you hunt what terrifies the galaxy, but why? Why would you choose to fight such things when you could run, when you could hide?" The human leader tilted his head slightly. His eyes carried the calm weight of someone who had seen far worse than this council could imagine. "Because running does not save you forever," he said. "On Earth there is nowhere to run. The monsters are everywhere, above you, beneath you, around you. If you do not face them, you die." Gasps rippled again. An alien with wings of glass leaned forward nervously. "Then you mean to say your home is a battlefield?" A soldier beside the human leader gave a grim smile. "We call it nature." The words cut sharp. Silence pressed on the room once more, until the armored alien general slammed his fist on the table again. His tone carried defiance, but his eyes betrayed unease. "You speak of survival. You speak of monsters. But words mean little. Prove it. Prove that you did not stumble by chance into killing this beast. Show us that you are not telling stories to frighten children." The council stirred. Many aliens nodded in agreement, fear mixing with the desire to deny. The general leaned back with a sneer. "Let us see your proof." "Human." The human leader's face did not change. He only turned and gestured to his soldiers. One of them stepped forward and tapped a control on a small device. A holographic screen burst to life in the center of the hall. The image that filled the chamber made many recoil in shock. It showed Earth, wild and green, filled with mountains and oceans. Then the view shifted, a vast jungle spread out, filled with shadows that moved between the trees. In the next second, the creature appeared, towering, massive, its scales black like obsidian, its eyes glowing with fire. Several aliens shouted at once, "It's real!" That thing destroyed colonies. How did they face it? The recording showed a group of human hunters, not soldiers in armor but ordinary men and women, painted with mud, carrying weapons made of steel and fire. The beast roared and charged. Its claws tore trees apart. Its jaws snapped with enough force to shatter bone and stone. Yet the humans did not run. They worked together, surrounding it, striking, moving, bleeding, but never stopping. The chamber was filled with the roars and screams of the battle. Some aliens covered their eyes. Others leaned closer, unable to look away. The thin alien with glassy eyes whispered, trembling. They fought it without fleets, without ships. With their own hands, the hologram showed the final strike. The beast collapsed, its roar shaking the forest as it fell. The humans stood around it, exhausted but alive. They cut into it, fire rising as they roasted its flesh. They did not cry in fear or celebrate in arrogance. They simply cooked their kill. The hologram ended. The chamber was silent. Only the steady breathing of the humans could be heard. The general who had demanded proof now sat rigid, his eyes dark, his sneer gone. He muttered softly, "You are mad. You choose to live in hell." The human leader finally allowed himself a small smile. "No, we choose to master it." A feathered alien shook her head. "But why eat it? Why take such a risk?" The leader stepped closer to the council table. His voice dropped to a calm but dangerous tone. "Because when you eat the monster, you take its strength. You claim victory not only in battle but in spirit. Every bite is a reminder that we will never bow to fear." The scaled alien looked pale now. His claws tapped nervously against the table. "And if one day the galaxy itself turns against you? If empires unite and beasts are sent to crush you?" The human answered without hesitation, his words sharp as ice. "Then we will eat again." The statement sent a chill across the room. The aliens shifted in discomfort for the first time. They realized humans did not see survival as desperation. They saw it as identity. The elder with silver skin raised his voice. "Do you not see how this makes you dangerous to all of us? You turn terror into power. That is not strength. That is madness." The human leader's gaze swept the room. "You call it madness. We call it being human." The silence that followed was thick. One by one, the alien leaders lowered their eyes. The laughter that had mocked humans hours ago now felt like a distant memory. The human picked up another slice of the roasted flesh. He held it up for the entire chamber to see before eating it slowly. The sound of his chewing was louder than any words spoken that night. The general finally rose to his feet, his armor clinking, his face pale under the light. He spoke not with anger, but with a strange respect. "If this is true, then no empire will ever see humans the same way again." The human leader placed the knife down. "Good," he said softly. "That was the point." And with those words, the chamber of the Galactic Council, once filled with cruel laughter, now sat in a silence so heavy that even the stars beyond the windows seemed to pause. The galaxy had mocked humanity, but now it began to understand. Humans did not just survive monsters. They consumed them. They carried their terror within themselves. And in that truth, there was a warning more powerful than any weapon. The council chamber still smelled of roasted flesh, though no one touched it except the humans. The alien leaders who once mocked now sat in uneasy silence, their eyes fixed on the delegation from Earth. The weight of the holographic recording still lingered in the air, the screams of the deadly beast echoing in every mind. The human leader stood calm, his black uniform spotless, his face unshaken. He let the silence stretch, because silence carried more power now than any speech. Finally, a nervous voice broke the stillness. "You claim strength in eating what others fear," said the feathered alien with pale blue wings, "but strength is not just survival. Strength is wisdom, restraint, knowledge. If you eat what terrifies us, what will you do when there is nothing left to eat?" The human turned his gaze on her. His eyes were cold but steady. "Then we will find more." The response sent a ripple of whispers through the chamber. Some shook their heads in disbelief, some leaned back in fear. The tentacled alien struck the table with his hand. "This is not strength. This is hunger without end. You are dangerous. More dangerous than the beasts you kill." One of the human soldiers stepped forward, his voice quiet but sharp. "Dangerous to whom? To the monsters who hunt us, or to those who laugh at us until they realize what we are capable of?" The chamber fell silent again. The question hung heavy, pressing on the councillors like a storm cloud. The armored alien general leaned forward, his eyes dark with thought. "Tell me, human, you kill and eat monsters, but do you ever fail? Do you ever lose?" The leader paused, his lips curling into a faint smile. Of course, he said, we bleed, we lose, sometimes we bury our own, but when we fall, we rise stronger. That is the difference between us and you, gasps spread again. The glassy-eyed alien whispered, you turn even failure into strength. The human nodded. That is why we endure. For a moment no one spoke. Then the scaled alien, regaining a sliver of courage, leaned forward with narrowed eyes. Then let me ask you this. If you can eat the monsters, if you can turn terror into food, what stops you from doing the same to us? The words struck the chamber like lightning. Aliens stirred, some nodding in fear, others muttering darkly. The suspicion grew sharp, the air tense. The human leader did not flinch. He stepped closer to the table, his voice low but clear. Because you are not monsters, he let the words hang. Then his gaze sharpened. Not yet, the hall froze. The pause was heavier than the answer. A single phrase twisted the air into iron. Some aliens looked down at their hands. Realizing how thin the line was, the elder with silver skin spoke, his voice firm though his eyes shook. If you see us as allies, then prove it. Prove that you are not here to spread fear. Give us a reason to believe you will not turn your hunger upon us. The human considered his words carefully. He could feel the weight of every gaze. We are not here to spread fear, he said slowly. We are here to remind you of what fear is. You think safety is normal, you think peace is your right, but peace is only born when someone is willing to face the monsters that lurk in the dark. We face them, we pay the price, and we survive, the tentacled alien whispered bitterly. And for how long until survival becomes conquest? The human's expression hardened. That depends, he said, on whether you mock us or stand beside us. The words struck with the force of a hammer. Some aliens shifted nervously, others looked at one another. Realizing the truth in his statement, the armored general finally rose to his feet. His dark armor glinted under the lights. Enough of riddles and words, he said. His voice was low and dangerous. If you are what you claim, then show us not with stories, not with trophies, but with a test. The chamber stirred. All eyes turned to the general. He continued. We will release a creature from our worlds, a beast that has slaughtered even our armies. If you can do what you say, if you can hunt it, kill it, and eat it before our eyes, then we will believe. The council erupted in gasps. Some shouted in protest, others in approval. The challenge was bold, reckless, yet it carried the weight of final proof. The human leader studied the general carefully. Then, to everyone's shock, he nodded. Bring your beast. The chamber fell into stunned silence. The humans did not argue, did not hesitate. The calm in the leader's voice chilled the room. He turned to his soldiers, who stood ready, their faces showing no fear. Are you mad? The feathered alien cried. This is suicide, but the human leader only answered no. This is dinner. The word sent another wave of shock through the chamber. The aliens stared, some trembling, some pale. The human leader's calm tone carried more weight than any roar. The councillors realized something then, something darker than what they had feared. Humans did not just survive monsters, they welcomed the challenge. They did not flinch from danger, they turned it into a meal. The laughter that had once mocked their food was long gone. What replaced it now was a silence that cut deep, a silence filled with dread. The galaxy had just learned that when you test humanity, you may not be testing their limits at all. You may only be setting the table for their next feast. The challenge spread through the council chamber like fire. The alien general's words still hung in the air. Every eye turned to the humans, waiting for fear, waiting for hesitation. But the human leader had simply nodded. His calm voice replayed in the minds of the councillors. Bring your beast. The silence that followed was heavy. Some council members muttered in disbelief. Others whispered warnings. The feathered alien shook her head, her pale wings trembling. You cannot mean this, she said softly. The beast he speaks of has destroyed fleets. You cannot fight it alone. The human leader looked at her with steady eyes. Then watch, the general smirked, but it was a thin mask over his unease. He slammed his armored hand against the table. So be it. We will see if your words are more than theatre. He turned to the council. Let them face the Makor. Gasps filled the room. Several councillors stood in shock. The macaw was no ordinary predator. It was a nightmare born from black swamps, with hide that turned blades, jaws that could crush ships, and venom that boiled blood. Even mentioning its name was enough to silence whole armies. The thin alien with glassy eyes whispered in fear, "That thing cannot be contained." The human leader's lips curled into a faint smile. "Then it will not be contained for long." Within hours the test was prepared. The humans were escorted to a vast arena beneath the council chambers. Built for military trials and executions, the air was heavy with tension. The council filled the seats above, looking down into the pit. Some watched with curiosity, others with dread. The human soldiers walked in calmly, their boots echoing on the stone floor. They carried no heavy weapons, only simple blades, spears, and fire rods. The aliens muttered in disbelief. "Madness," the feathered alien whispered. "They bring sticks against death." The general leaned back with a cruel smile. "Let us see how long they last." The gates at the far end rumbled. Chains cracked, and a sound filled the chamber like thunder mixed with a scream. The macaw burst into the arena. Its body was massive, covered in thick, black scales that glistened under the lights. Its eyes glowed red. Its claws carved deep trenches into the floor. When it roared, the walls shook, and even the bravest counselors flinched. The humans did not move. They stood in formation, calm, waiting. The beast charged forward, its jaws opening wide enough to swallow a man whole. The aliens above gasped, expecting blood, but at the last moment, the humans split apart, moving with precision. Their spears and fire rods struck in unison. The macaw shrieked, smoke rising from its scales, where fire seared into cracks. It swung its massive tail, throwing two humans against the wall. Yet they rose again, blood running down their faces, but their eyes unbroken. The battle was chaos and strategy woven together. The beast snapped its jaws, crushing one spear, but another soldier leapt onto its back. Driving a blade between the scales, the creature roared in rage, slamming itself against the walls to shake him off. But more humans rushed in, striking, cutting, never stopping. From above, the counselors could not believe what they saw. "They fight as one," the silver-skinned elder whispered. "They move like the beast itself." The general's grin faltered as the humans adapted. Every attack from the macaw was answered with a counter. Every injury they took only made them fight harder. Their movements carried no fear, only determination. At last, the human leader himself stepped forward. His fire rod blazing bright, he shouted a single command, and his soldiers moved into perfect formation. They surrounded the beast, driving it toward the center of the arena. With one final cry, they struck together. Spears pierced, flames seared, and blades cut deep. The macaw let out a final roar that shook the chamber before collapsing with a crash that shook the ground. The arena was silent. The beast lay dead, smoke rising from its massive body. The humans stood over it, bloodied, bruised, but alive. They did not cheer. They did not roar in victory. They simply looked up at the council with calm eyes. The leader raised his voice. "You wished for proof. Here it is." He placed his blade into the creature's hide, cutting a thick slice of meat. He roasted it over the fire rod until the smell filled the arena. Rich and heavy, he lifted the cooked piece, bit into it slowly and chewed. His soldiers followed, each taking part of the beast, eating calmly in silence. Above, the counselors stared in horror and awe. The feathered alien whispered, "They eat it! They truly eat it." The silver-skinned elder's voice shook. "Then it is true. Every monster that rises against them becomes nothing more than their feast." The general's face was pale now, his arrogance gone. He had wanted the humans to fail, to fall, to die screaming. Instead, they had turned his test into another meal. The human leader wiped his mouth and looked up at the council. His words carried through the silence like thunder. "Do not mistake our patience for weakness. Do not mistake our silence for fear. We are human, and we do not run from monsters. We consume them." The chamber erupted, not with laughter, not with mockery, but with fear. The lesson was complete. The galaxy had set a trap, and humanity had turned it into dinner, and in that moment, Every alien present realized a truth they had never dared to imagine. The humans could not be broken. They could only grow stronger. The arena was still filled with the smell of smoke and blood. The body of the macaw lay lifeless in the center, its black scales cracked, its jaws frozen in death. The humans stood tall, their weapons bloodied, their faces calm. Above them, the council chamber was silent. Thousands of alien eyes locked on the scene below. No one laughed anymore. No one mocked. The truth was carved into the stone floor with the beast's corpse. The human leader wiped his blade clean and raised his head toward the council. His voice carried easily, firm and calm. "You demanded proof. You now have it." No one spoke. Some aliens shifted nervously in their seats. Others sat frozen. The feathered alien covered her mouth with trembling hands, her eyes wide with disbelief. The silver-skinned elder whispered softly, "They killed it, and then they ate it. The nightmare of our worlds is nothing but food to them." The human soldiers continued their ritual, slicing meat from the beast, roasting it over flames, eating in silence. The act was not celebration. It was survival. It was respect. The councillors could not look away. Each bite was a reminder of what humanity truly was. Finally, the armored general who had set the challenge stood. His voice was low but heavy. "You are everything you claimed." He paused, his face pale beneath his helm. "But tell me, human, what are we to do with you? For if you can eat monsters, then what hope have we against you?" The human leader raised his eyes, meeting the general's stare. "You do not need hope against us," he said. His tone was quiet but dangerous. "You only need wisdom not to stand in our way." The words dropped like stones into the silence. The chamber stirred. Aliens looked to one another. Some whispered that the humans were too dangerous to trust. Others muttered that perhaps they should be allies instead of enemies. The tentacled alien slammed a hand on the table, his voice high with fear. "They must be watched, controlled. We cannot allow such a species to grow unchecked." A ripple of uneasy agreement passed through part of the council. But the silver-skinned elder shook his head. His voice cut through the noise. "Controlled. You just saw them control what none of us could, what chains could ever bind them." The debate rose, voices clashing like storms. Some shouted for alliance, others for caution. But through it all, the humans stood silent, calm, watching. Their silence carried more power than all the council's arguments combined. At last, the human leader raised his voice again, not loud, but strong enough to bring the chamber back into quiet. "You think we are dangerous because we eat what terrifies you, but you are wrong. We are dangerous because we do not fear the dark." The feathered alien leaned forward, her voice soft but sharp. "And if the dark comes not from beasts, but from us?" The leader's expression hardened. His words were slow, deliberate. "Then you will become another story we tell. Another lesson in survival." The entire chamber froze. The threat was not shouted, not growled, but spoken as simple truth. That truth was heavier than any roar. For a long moment there was nothing but silence. The humans returned to their work, preparing the beast's flesh as if they were at home. The sight was almost worse than the battle itself. To the aliens, eating the macaw was unthinkable. To the humans, it was ordinary. The silver-skinned elder stood, his ancient eyes locked on the humans. "Perhaps we laughed too quickly," he said. "Perhaps we did not see what was before us." He turned slowly to the others. "If they can do this, then maybe the galaxy does not need to fear them. Maybe the galaxy needs them." The council erupted again, this time with divided voices. Some cried that humanity should be embraced, others that it should be isolated. The debate grew fierce, but beneath it all was a new truth. No one dared to laugh at humans again. The general in armor clenched his fists, his voice breaking the chaos. "Mark my words. Today, we have seen something new. Humanity is not prey, not even predator. They are something worse, something we do not yet understand." The human leader gave a faint smile. "Then learn quickly," he said, "because the galaxy is changing, and when the dark comes again, it will not be laughter that saves you. It will be us." The chamber fell into silence once more. The aliens looked down at the humans, And for the first time in the history of the Council, they saw not a young, weak race, but a force born from death itself, a species that thrived where others perished. The humans stood, finished with their meal. They left the arena calmly, their boots echoing against the stone. Behind them, the dead beast lay as proof of their words. Proof that could never be denied. The councillors sat frozen, their laughter silenced forever. Their whispers carried a new tone now, not of mockery, but of fear and respect. The galaxy had thought humanity weak. They had thought their food primitive, but now they understood the truth. Humans did not fear monsters. Humans consumed them. And in that terrifying truth was a warning the entire galaxy would never forget.